You think you know war stories? Well, we're about to dive into an ancient battle from the book of Genesis that is on a whole other level. On the surface, it looks like a straightforward story of kings and conflict, but trust me, it is packed with prophecy, hidden codes, and a rescue mission that is just completely against all odds. So, what are we talking about here? Are we really calling this the First World War? Well, maybe. The text lays out this massive conflict involving 9 different kings from all over the ancient world. It's a true clash of empires that starts with big-time geopolitics but very quickly becomes a deeply personal crisis for one man, Avram.
Okay, so let's be clear. This wasn't some random border skirmish. We're talking about a full-on, calculated military campaign between 2 major alliances. And believe me, this fight had been simmering for more than a decade.
All right, let's break down the players. In one corner, you've got the invading powerhouse, a 4-king alliance led by this guy, Kedorlaomer of Elam. And in the other corner, the rebels, 5 Canaanite city-state kings, headed up by Bera of Sodom, who basically just decided, you know what, we're done paying tribute. So it's 4 kings versus 5. The stage is set.
So how did we even get here? Well, picture this. For 12 straight years, these 5 kings are paying tribute to Kedorlaomer, year after year. But then, in the 13th year, they've had enough. They rebel. And the response? Oh, it was swift and absolutely brutal. By the 14th year, Kedorlaomer and his buddies are marching in to crush this insurrection for good.
The final battle goes down in this place called the Vale of Siddim. And you have to understand, this valley was basically a field of natural booby traps. It was full of these sticky, tar-like slime pits, a total death trap. As the kings of Sodom and Amorah tried to run for it, they literally fell right into these pits. Their armies just scattered and fled to the hills.
So with the rebel army completely crushed, the 4 invading kings basically have the run of the place. They start looting the cities of Sodom and Amorah, and right in the middle of all that chaos, they grab someone who is about to turn this entire war on its head.
And when I say they took everything, I mean everything. All the supplies, all the wealth, and Avram's nephew, Lot, along with all of his possessions. Just like that, this huge geopolitical war becomes a deeply personal family emergency for Avram.
So what does Avram do when he hears this? Does he negotiate? Does he panic? No, he doesn't hesitate for a second. He immediately launches what has to be one of the gutsiest, most audacious rescue missions in history.
So how does he find out? The news gets to him from a single escapee, someone who managed to get away. This person finds Avram, who's just living his life peacefully by the terebinths of Mamre, and drops this bombshell. Your relative, Lot, has been taken captive by this massive victorious army.
Okay, just stop and think about the odds here for a second. You've got a battle-hardened army of 4 kings, fresh off a massive victory. And who are they up against? Avram's crew. So how big was Avram's force? An army of thousands? No. The text gives us a very specific number, 318 trained men. That's it. That's all he had.
But here's where it gets really fascinating. Why that number, 318? Why so specific? Well, this is where the great commentator, Rashi, blows the whole thing wide open. He brings in this ancient interpretive method called gematria, where every Hebrew letter also has a number value. And get this, the letters in the name of Avram's chief servant, Eliezer, add up to, you guessed it, exactly 318. This suggests Avram's entire force might have just been one incredibly loyal man. Mind-blowing, right?
So whether it was 318 men or the strength of just one, Avram's strategy was nothing short of brilliant. First, he pursues the enemy relentlessly all the way north to Dan. Then, under the cover of darkness, he splits his tiny force and launches a surprise night raid. It's a total shock. He completely routs the 4 kings. And he doesn't just win, he rescues everyone, Lot, his family, the other captives, and he recovered all the stolen goods.
But you see, this whole thing is so much more than just a cool war story. According to Rashi, if you look closer, you start to see that the text is literally threaded with secrets. The names of people, the names of places, they're not random. They're clues that hint at their true character and even foretell future events.
For example, let's look at those Canaanite kings. Rashi basically decodes their names. Bera, the king of Sodom, sounds like the Hebrew for in evil, and Bera, the king of Amorah, sounds like in wickedness. See what's happening?
Their very names are a commentary on their moral character hidden in plain sight.
All right, remember how Avram pursued the 4 kings to Dan? Geographically, that's just a location in the far north of Israel. But for the commentators, that single word, Dan, is a huge flashing neon sign.
And this is just a fascinating look at how they read the text. Rashi explains that Avram's spirit actually faltered at Dan because he had a prophetic vision. He saw that centuries later, his own descendants would commit the sin of idolatry in that exact spot. The past and the future are woven together. And it's not a one-off thing. This happens with other places too. Before the big battle, the invading kings came to a place called En Mishpad, the Well of Judgment. Rashi explains it was named in reference to a future event, the moment Moses and Aaron would be judged by God right there at the waters of Meribah.
So Avram returns victorious, having defeated 4 kings and rescued his family. And on his way back, he's greeted by one of the most mysterious and significant figures in the entire Bible.
This man appears out of nowhere. His name is Malki-żedeq, which means my king is righteousness, and he is the king of Shalem, which means peace. He played no part in the battle, yet here he is, arriving to meet the victor.
Malki-żedeq comes out with bread and wine, sustenance for the weary warrior. The text calls him a priest of the Most High God, and he blesses Avram. But who is he? Well, Rashi identifies him as Shem, the righteous son of Noah, a living link to the world before the flood.
In response to this blessing from a priest of the Most High God, Avram does something profound. He gives Malki-żedeq a tenth of all the spoils he recovered. It's an act of acknowledging a spiritual authority higher than his own military victory.
In the end, a story that began as a war between 9 kings transforms into something so much deeper. It's a narrative about courage and faith, but also about these hidden layers of meaning connecting generations. It really makes you wonder how much of our own lives are echoing a past we don't know and setting the stage for a future we can't yet see.